Welcome to Build Up, the European Commission's portal for energy efficiency and renewable energy in buildings. Directly stemming from the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive, Build Up is the meeting place for everyone involved in making the European building and construction sector more energy efficient. Every month we focus on a topic that is key to making Europe's buildings as energy efficient as possible. Exploring that, you can find the latest content such as expert talks, webinars, case studies and more. From architects and engineers to academics and policy makers, we've got you covered. Build Up brings together thousands of registered members to reap the benefit of Europe's collective intelligence on all aspects of energy efficiency and renewable energy in buildings. The Build Up portal benefits from the expertise of our ambassadors. Drawn from industry and academia, the ambassadors bridge the gap between EU and national level and help shape our editorial content. Want to promote your work? Build Up disseminates your research, projects and events through a variety of channels. Become a member to exchange knowledge with your peers. You can disseminate tools and resources, share good practices, and consult open source publications. Join the discussion on social media and become part of the Build Up community, or subscribe to our newsletter to receive the latest news. However you participate, the Build Up portal is here to inspire, inform and connect. Build Up, the European portal for energy efficiency and renewable energy in buildings. Join the community for opportunities and updates.
Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Jordi Gonzalez and I'm a member of the Build Up team. It is a pleasure for us at Build Up to host the 5th webinar of the Stakeholder Webinar Series organized with the Cost Action Project. As you know, this webinar is called Contractors, Builders and Manufacturers of the Construction Products. But before we begin, we want to invite and encourage you, the audience, to send us your questions or comments to the speakers throughout the session. To do so, please use the GoToWebinar question function, which you will find at the right side of your screen. These questions and comments will be addressed throughout the Q&A session that we will have after the 3 presentations that we have today. Let's check the agenda for today. The agenda for today's webinar with the Cost Action Project is composed of 3 sessions. We're going to start with Rita Moura, Director of Innovation of Teixeira Duarte. She will speak about the path towards a more sustainable built environment. Then Maria João Martins, Corporate Sustainability Manager at the ACA Group, is going to join us. She will speak about sustainability reporting and reducing the carbon footprint in the construction industry. And finally, Christophe Sykes, Director General of Construction Products Europe, will speak about the implications of a revised EU legal framework for construction products. But now, without further ado, we move directly to the first session. Rita Moura, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much for inviting me to this webinar, which is really important to my company, Teixeira Duarte, this subject of circular economy in the building. So, I'm going to talk about construction because, in my opinion, is like the elephant in the middle of the room of the circular economy, and I will explain why I think this way. So, sorry, you have to change the slides. That's something that is not okay. So this is the agenda. First I will talk about the context of circular economy in general. Then I will talk about circularity in construction, in particular in construction. I will talk about regulatory trends in construction that are ongoing in Europe. And then I will exemplify with some case studies, okay? So this is the global risk report, and as you see, the biggest challenge in the world, according to the CEOs, to the leaders of the main companies in the world, are related with environment, as you see there. So we can see other risks, like for instance disease, that are not so probable, and they have not such a high impact, and also global war. But anyway, our leaders identify these green challenges as the most important one. Um, and so this is important to us. So they are the most probable and with a major impact. So this is really important to face. And of course, you know this picture, and we know that we have COVID, we have recession, we have the climate change, then we have the biodiversity collapse. So these are bigger and bigger challenges that we are not facing nowadays, but probably we will face them in the near. We are facing, but not in a major, a major event, but we will face them for sure in the near future. So it's something that we have to be aware of. Oh, I'm so sorry. I cannot change the. Okay. So, and this is the impacts of increasing global average temperature. And as we talk about 1.5, and we have the impacts in this figure, we have the impacts in droughts and forest fires, in food, in the coastal region, in the nature. And as we see, with the increase of to 2 degrees of the average temperature, the impacts will be bigger, of course, and if we increase 3, they will be massive destructive, and if we increase 4, they are really awful. So it's something that we as people living on Earth have to avoid this increasing temperature, average temperature of the world. So, okay. Also, we know that the world population will grow till 2100, and will raise like the biggest number of 11, more or less 11 billion people, and then we'll stabilize. But till 2100, we will have to face this growing population of the world, and construction has a major importance in this issue, because everybody lives in the built environment. We need houses, we need roads, we need all the infrastructures that construction brings to the population. Sorry, change to the other one, please. And this is really important also to face, is that we are not only increasing the population, we are also increasing their activity because of the economic growth. And this is good, because population of the not so developed world, they need more, more infrastructures, they need more housing, and they will increase their impact in our planet. And that's in one hand it's good, but in the other hand the impact will be bigger and bigger. So the impact is like equal to the total population plus the activity plus technology. And technology is like, innovation is something that could uh, reduce this major impact that we will have regarding the activity of this growing population. So the only way we have is with innovation, that we can, reduce these curves, that the tendency is to grow, but with innovation we can reduce these curves, and what we are searching for. Please, the next one. And this, also this, the day on which the Earth's annual resources will be spent in the population. If the population and we have all the countries. And I have, for example, here Portugal. And it was the 28th of May this year that we use all the resources. If everybody used the same resources as we use in Portugal, we use all the resources that are available in the world. So this is really important to know. The other one, please. Please change. Okay. So, and now talking about the waste generation in UA in 2020, I'm so sorry, I just have this figure, but it's hasn't has changed so much. And as we see, construction and mining are, together are more than 50% of the waste generation. So this is really important. As I said, construction is like the elephant in the middle of the room, for sure. So it's something that we have to think about. How do we build? How do we build our environment in order to fulfill this requirement of reducing, in one hand, the use of raw materials, and in the other hand, the waste generation. So, next, please. Yeah, and in construction we always use a lot of materials since the ancient times, and I have here the pyramids from Egypt, but also next, please, in big cities. So these images show us how construction is an intensive industry in the using natural resources. So we have a lot to do in our industry because we use a lot of materials. So next, please. Now I will talk about circularity in construction, in the framework of construction. Next, please. And as we see in construction, more or less, this is not exact numbers, but we use like 40%, more or less 40% of the materials, of all the materials available. We produce more or less 40% of CO2 emissions, directly or indirectly by housing and etc. And we produce more or less 40% of waste. So this 40-40-40 equation, we have to solve this equation because it's not possible that we use 40% of raw materials and produce 40% of waste. So we have to, by innovation, solve this equation. Okay. Next, please. So, and one aspect is that buildings, and this is only buildings, we have 100% different buildings, but if we look at the components, they have like 80% of similar components. So we can, by standardization of construction elements, we can increase quality and reduce costs. And this is more or less like Lego concepts. All of us, we know what Lego is since we were a child, and we can use different components to build. We can use the same components to build different buildings. So this is the principle that we have to change our mindset in construction in order to use elementary components to build all the different buildings that we have, and with all the different architectures, shapes that we like to do. So please, next. So this figure is not very good, but it shows what is the circular economy in construction. It's more or less like urban mining issue. It's like we have buildings, we have old buildings that have not only waste but components. For instance, a beautiful door that was used in an ancient building that can be used in a modern building, or a pavement, a good material pavement that can be used in a new building. So this is important to have this concept and to have this marketplace in order to put together people that have the components and the people that want to use them in new constructions. So, next, please. And this circular attitude is going very well with the building information modeling, where we can, like, by digitalization of all the design and execution and maintenance process in construction, we can, like targeting all the components that the building are made of and to know where they are. And this is really important to have together the building information modeling and the circular attitude in construction. Next, please. So what happens to concrete, wood, and metal structure elements when the building is demolished? And we can see that, for instance, in the case of concrete, we see that 75% go to downcycling nowadays. We have to change this. And in wood, we have 6% that goes to downcycling. And still, we have less quantity that goes downcycling, like 6%. But at the same time, steel is more energy consuming during the fabrication of steel. So to have the equation of sustainability, we have to put together the sustainability of the fabrication of that material, and then the question of the downcycling or avoiding the downcycling of that material. And this is the principle that we have to think when we think about the one material regarding sustainability. Next, please. So also we have to think in layers as a purpose, because we have, for instance, we have the structure of the building, and then we have different layers, and we have different experts that can take those layers and take care of those layers. And they are different persons, they are different companies, but they know a lot about that layer. So this is a principle that is really important to have in buildings, is that we build by layers and we take care of layers separately. And having those 8 principles that we have to design using a minimum amount of materials. We have to maximize the functional lifespan. We have to optimize the management and maintenance. We have to design for multiple life cycles, if possible. We have to minimize the use of new or virgin materials. We have to maximize the amount of recycled or reused of components and materials. So, and we also have to use more sustainable or bio-based materials, and to maximize the potential for high value reuse. So this is the main principles, okay? Next, please. So this is like a future scenario that we have. And we, of course, we have geopolitical tensions. We have less access to raw materials, and we have also extreme events. We have social and political pressure. So everything is going to increase the emergency of super circular products and bio-based products. So everything is pushing us to this direction. Next, please. So, and this has implication in regional supply chains, and also the emissions pricing and the legislative pressure. Everything is pushing us in the direction of the circular economy, and that's good in a way. Next, please. So this is circularity is like retaining the material value by reusing and repurposing and recycling. And super circularity is it's a slightly different attitude. Is to think about increase the material value via upgrades or intentioned reuse at the end of a life cycle. So it's a different mindset, and we have to have this mindset in construction, in my opinion. Next, please. So this is the principles of super circularity: the upgradability to extend components' life cycles, building value defined by upgradability, and also the end-of-life design, like creating material roadmaps, the plug-and-play components that we can put in the different layers of construction, as we spoke before. And also the transparency, like using BIM models and digital twins, where we can know where the components are along the life cycle of the structure. And also to know exactly the residual value of the components, because this will increase a lot, because if we don't have raw materials, the residual value of the existing materials will rise, and that's important, and we have to change our attitude. Next, please. So the key enablers of super circularity are the fragmented ownership of the structure, as I said, among those layers. If we have someone that is responsible for the structure and another one is responsible for the installations, that will be important to enable the super circularity, because they will be experts in that field. Also, of course, the plug-and-play interfaces that can also putting not only physical but also digital uses of the interfaces, and also have standardized building layer models, of course, because we have to speak the same language, and otherwise nothing will go on. So, and also we have to promote, and this is really important, and as a service business model. So each responsible for each layer can be a different business model that we have. For instance, we don't buy lamps, but we buy a lighting for our building, and someone is responsible for offering us lighting for that building, and also water and etc., energy, etc. Okay, thank you. The next one, please. So nowadays currently we are in the renovation phase. We are also trying to design for the construction. We also have some Kinder surprise, because we have potential harmful materials in our construction. So tomorrow, let's say in the next 5-10 years, we will have limited updates of installations across layers. We have to design for the construction with material passports. We have to enhance our documentation by value that can be measured. And let's say in 2035, we will have upgrades in not only in the physical but also in the digital makeup that can be enhanced in the buildings, and that's important. As we have a mobile, we can also put some digital interfaces in our buildings that can be upgraded in the future very easily. So that's really interesting. And we have to design for use with build materials index and reuse roadmap. And also, of course, the transparency, the real-time assessment of the building values. It's really important to real estate, and not only to every owners of the buildings. It's really important to have a real-time assessment of the value that they have. Next, please. So this is the same. So now we are under documents, and we will have in the next 5-10 years material passports, and in more than 10 years material roadmaps, and this increase a lot the circularity potential in the time. So this is what we propose as European. This is a study made by Ancord, an association where I participate, and that's what we propose. Next. So, next, please, about regulatory trends, and we can talk about ITACA protocol from 2019. This is really, Italy is doing a very good role in this in the circularity in construction. So this protocol is really interesting. I'm not talking deeply about it; it's just to mention them. Next, please. In this case, the use of these mounting materials is just an aspect that make part of this protocol, Italian protocol. Next, please. Okay, so also in France, the regulation is really in advance. They have a very good regulation, a tipping point regarding regulation in the context of a French context. So they are promoting the environmental regulation of new buildings construction, mandatory diagnostic and audit for demolitions. This is really important, and also the extended producer responsibility. This is also important. Next, please. Just to talk about some regulations, and this is interesting because they are promoting the studies from selected territory regions, and then they make the estimation of the existing components stocks, and then they make the estimation of additional and removals of components, and then analyze all the related flows management, and then of course create a database of generic components. And as I said, with like Lego, the reconstruction of a building could be made by using these generic components that they take from the existing buildings, and they can build different buildings and different components. And this is the principle, and it's interesting that France is in a good advance in this field. Next, please. Also in Portugal, we are doing the roadmap for construction decarbonization, where circular economy is key, of course. So just to say that we are also starting to develop this roadmap that will be very important in the next years in Portugal. Next, please. It's just, I will send you the information and the presentation, and you can read. So this is the construction, the decarbonization roadmap that we plan to Portugal, C20, it's the name. And of course, okay, next, please. So this is our roadmap, and we have, this is the most important things that have the most impact. So the green stars is where we can have the most impact, like digitalization, of course, energy efficiency, renewable energies, waste management, and then the yellow, it's a medium impact, and the less impact are the red ones. So it's something that we are working on with, it's a major work that we are now beginning in Portugal. Next, please. So just a quick, some case studies. Next, please. So this is a district court in Amsterdam, where a temporary building was designed to be dismantled after 5 years, and all the connections were designed to be easily assembled and dismantled in the future. So this is important, and it was made by a steel structure because it's easy to make the connections. But anyway, it's just an example. Next one, please. We can go more fast because I'm taking a long time. This is ABN Bank in Amsterdam, which is really interesting because the CEO of this bank wants to this headquarters to be like a green flag of the bank. So he wants that the building is a totally circular building. So the building was designed to be dismantled and reused, and many of the building materials and components had a previous life. For instance, the doors comes from a factory in Eindhoven, a Philips factory. They are ancient, beautiful, they are vintage, and they use them. This is just an example. Wooden and reinforced, they use wooden and reinforced concrete structures. Next, please. Also, these in Vienna, these gasometers were too beautiful to be demolished. So they were maintained, repaired, and upgraded, and into apartment blocks. So this is an interesting case of preservation and conservation of the industrial heritage, and to be used as apartment to blocks. Also, in this case, the transformation of a reinforced concrete wall, and I was involved in this, into a frame of a major frame of pillars and beams. So we use totally the wall, the concrete wall, and cut it with diamond discs, and then we rebuild like beams and pillars, and so we totally use the previous structure, which was very interesting. Next one, please. Also, it's important to promote rehabilitation rather than demolition, of course, because rehabilitation is like the total recycling of a building. So this is obvious, of course. Next one, please. This is also, we have large rivers in Portugal, so we have big bridges. So we have and also we have we are in a maritimic zone, so we have a lot of repair of ancient bridges, and we have a lot of expertise in that. And Teixeira Duarte was involved in the repair works and strengthening works of this major bridge in Portugal, using high quality concretes and also carbonate laminates, because they have no corrosion. So we use them to strengthen the structure. So it's interesting. Next one, please. Next. Also in this old bridge in south of Portugal. And also in this case was the repair of a building damaged by a gas explosion in Portugal also. And that's important that we could keep the building. The building was almost collapsed, but we can keep the building, and there's a major impact, a good impact, a positive impact in sustainability, because we use all this material, we maintain all the materials, we maintain the building, and okay, my time is gone, I'm sorry. So next one, please. Yeah, so we can, yeah, thank you so much. Now I pass the floor to Maria João Martins from ACA. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Good afternoon to everyone, and thank you so much to Build Up and to Build Collab for the invitation. Now I start my presentation. I don't know if I have to control. Yes. I'm going to make a brief description of ACA Group and also an overview of our sustainability strategy. So ACA Group was founded in 1982, and it's one of the most relevant Portuguese and international players in construction sector. Our four business areas is building construction, roads and infrastructures, energy, water and environment, and our industrial centers. We have over 2,000 employees, and we are divided across 3 continents, mainly in Portugal, in Europe. In Africa, we are in Angola and São Tomé and Príncipe, and in Latin America, in Brazil and in Bolivia. Regarding our financial information, we have a turnover of about 300 million euros, and These are our brand business, and that goes from engineering and construction to forest services. Moving on to our sustainability strategy. I thought we start our work in 2019. In 2023, we kick off with several actions, starting with the creation of our Corporate Sustainability Committee. We create a brand that joined the three sustainability pillars. We also start to work with the European regulatory framework. Also, we built our SDG strategic map, and we joined GRACE, a leading corporate sustainability association of responsible companies, one of the largest in Europe. To summarize, I can say that we work in two very important vectors. We work in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and we work also with the compliance of European regulation, namely with the CSRD and the European taxonomy. Now, detailing a little bit about the work that we are doing in the 2030 Agenda. To engage our employees and to improve our sustainability literacy, we start our journey with the 2030 Agenda. We choose this model that is on the right side of this slide, that is the Stockholm Resilience Center model, because it is a very simple model, visual, and because it's a perfect interconnection between the three ESG pillars and the SDGs. So we also decide to draw inspiration from the three pillars: universality, integration, and leave no one behind. And as the first step to define our strategy, we use the National Sustainability Day in Portugal on 25 of September to seek the opinion of all of our stakeholders. We want everyone to provide the feedback on which SDGs the ACA group should prioritize for maximum impact and how we could contribute to achieve the 2030 Agenda. To do so, we create several material and videos using the material provided from United Nations and their partners to explain what each of the SDG means. And then we asked everyone to identify and choose between 3 to 5 SDGs that they believe should have a greater focus in our sustainability strategy. For those who have access to corporate email, we send a Microsoft form that allowed for gathering feedback from everyone on the same topic. In the construction sites and other locations, information was gathered through panels like this one on the left side of the slide, and stickers in a dynamic prepared and assisted by several facilitators. We also ask other stakeholders to give their opinion through our social media in the same way. So, not leaving anyone behind and everyone at the same time was a successful action because we joined 1,300 workers to construct our SDG map. Now I ask you, we are going to see a small video, and I ask you to reduce a little bit your sound because the video has sound and it's a little bit louder. Please, can you play the video? So then we have our map, and to support our strategy, we invite several several persons to represent each SDG in the several regions, and we create a dynamic with our SDG ambassadors. In order to develop a plan and aligns with the organization and the 2030 agenda, we have been monitoring the status of the SDG progress worldwide, as you can see on this dashboard. Also, in the several countries where we have projects, while also aligned the priorities of the European Commission. What we can observe here is that the several SDGs from our strategy can contribute to several priority groups of the European Commission, such as the European Green Deal or the economy for the people, for example. To interconnect all these actions, we decide to create a game, a challenge in all the regions where we operate that allows, in a fun way, that each individual action to contribute for a greater good. This way, everyone will be involved, and we will work towards the SDG action plan and achieve the SDG targets and indicators associated with our strategic map. The SDG ambassadors in every region help us to form all this plan. I have another video, also ask you to lower a little bit the sound, that will show you the dynamic of this game. Please, can you show the video, please? So this game includes quizzes and actions that everyone can choose, and they can choose the SDG that you want to earn, as well as the regions and actions where you will play or participate. The goal is to earn 100 points for each SDG and, of course, all the SDGs. Now moving on to CSRD and, of course, the ESRS. Europe has issued an avalanche of legislation in recent years, and in ACA Group we decide to move directly into it, so that we have time to prepare ourselves to 2026, when we will need to report on the financial year of 2025. We choose the year of 2023 as the baseline year, and we start to work the CSRD and the taxonomy regulation, still with the ESRS still in a draft form. In addition to European regulation, we also need to consider the entire regulatory framework of the countries where we have projects, where we operate, especially regarding topics designated as material. One of the most relevant points for developing reporting work is based on the CSRD, is the double materiality analysis. So we have the financial materiality that is more related with risks and opportunities, and we have the impact materiality more related with the impact on society and the planet. To carry out this work, we consult our main stakeholders using different procedures. We include a financial workshop for our top management and shareholders, a questionnaire on impact materiality sent to the other stakeholders, and focus group to hear our employees. We had a response rate between 50 and 60%. In this slide, you can see the result of our double materiality analysis. This is one of the most important pieces of our strategy because this will lead our work on our sustainability reporting and guidelines. So we propose 19 teams. And our stakeholders identify 5 teams from social dimension, 4 for governance dimension, and 2 from environmental dimension. So these are the materiality topics that we are going to work to report, and of course to work on the ESRS standards. Now focusing on the 2 standards, environmental standards, that are the circular economy and resources efficiency and the climate change mitigation and adaptation. We start to calculate our carbon footprint using the GHG protocol and focus on scope 1, 2, and 3 in every country where we are working, and also for all the companies that we have in the group. Regarding the circularity, because it's a material topic, as you see in our materiality analysis, we decide to make a circularity audit that was created by ADEN, the Portuguese Agency for Energy, and it's a classification system that enables the assessment for performance and improvement of management practices on circular economy of organizations, and as a focus on water, materials, energy, and strategies. This as circular allows the measuring of performance and guiding organizations towards improving management practice in the circular economy for a more sustainable future. Our audit shows that we need to improve in some points, but also show us what we have done until now, that it's okay, and that it's a way that we should go next years. Now going for our sustainability reporting. We have defined our index and we are working on it. We name it our strategy, Constructing Sustainability Communities, and we have 3 strategic pillars: thriving environment, inclusive communities, and transparent governance. Our main projects for the end of this year and for next year are the decarbonization and energy transition plan, our value chain due diligence management platform to optimize the data collection to calculate the carbon footprint in a more efficiently way, to improve the score on the circular audit that I have told you about, to work on the line of the activities with the European taxonomy, to continue the literacy campaigns in the group related with 2030 agenda, to subscribe the Global Compact from UN, and to preparing for the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive. So thank you very much for listening, and now I give the floor to Christoph.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm speaking from sunny Berlin, where I'm here to meet the EU BIM task group later today and tomorrow. So I'll address the last part of the title, the construction product manufacturers. Next slide, please. And I think we are behind time, so I'll maybe skip through the first ones. You can read this later, who we are, basically bring the whole industry together. We've been there since the late 80s. Next slide, please. Okay, and as a lobby organization, of course, we talk to the people in Brussels, and we set up an alliance called Construction 2050 Alliance that brings together product manufacturers, contractors, building owners, social housing, real estate, to have for one place to bring the whole industry together. Next slide, please. You may have seen this picture before. This is an illustration we did a few years ago to show the Green Deal at the center of all the EU initiatives. And we did a little roll call, and it seems that in 5 years there was 661 legislative proposals coming out of the European Commission, some of which has already been mentioned by the 2 previous speakers. Next one, please. So you will have seen or heard or read the 3 reports all about competitiveness, and as we await the interview of the incoming new commissioners, we know that for the next 5 years it's all going to be about competitiveness. Next slide, please. So again, I come back to my picture, which was the last 5 years, and click again once or twice. There we are. So, well, that's it, that one there. If there will be still more legislation, and it's all about applying the Green Deal, now everything's going to be about coherence and consistency. As Mrs. von der Leyen said in her speech in July, competitiveness is going to be the focus. So, next slide, please. This one's a little bit more about the timing and timeline. The short one, we've now have the dates where the commissioners, the candidates will stand in the European Parliament and be interviewed. We've managed, you will read it later, we've managed to put in a little question that will be asked to the potentially incoming Energy and Housing Commissioner from Denmark. And of course, the last box there, 1st December, is a target. But if the Parliament decides that 1 or 2 of the candidates is not good enough and sends them home, then we will need more time to get a new commission, and that might be postponed to January. Okay, so that gives you a flavour of what's to come. So again, referring to Mrs. von der Leyen's speech in July, she said that within the first 100 days, she would come up with a clean industrial deal. That's the second version of the Green Deal. Of course, 100 days from day one, as I've just said, we don't know if day one is December 1st or January 1st, so that one remains to be seen. And of course, for all of us, the crucial element is the mention of an affordable housing plan. we know the name of the commissioner, we now know the name of the plan. Actually, it is being written as we speak, and it might come earlier than later, as written here. But early next year, first few months. What's the space of the European Commission? This is the one that we're all waiting for and looking forward to. In that little box there at the bottom, this is more for the EU speak. Construction product manufacturer or even construction industry is more seen as energy intensive, has already been mentioned, and I represent absolutely every single product on the market, from wood to ceramics and steel to plastics. So we are all seen as energy intensive, and we need to change, we the industry need to change the equilibrium, ensure that we have solutions, whether it's part of competitiveness and jobs delivery or in terms of the circular economy. Next slide, please. Okay, so if we put the two arrows in parallel, what does the Commission want and what are we, the industry, looking for? You will see that, of course, no one's mentioned the crisis that the construction industry is in and has been in for the last 18 months. But the housing crisis, especially in Portugal, you have had not riots but demonstration in the streets. So we need to relaunch construction to deliver the housing that is required by the citizen. And whilst others have referred to other pieces of legislation, for the construction products industry, there is only one reference, and that's the Construction Products Regulation. And you will see why it's crucial. Of course, the acronym, we always have an acronym, it's the CPR. Next one, please. So there was talk about the circular economy, and I just want to frame it back because there's always some misunderstanding. If for construction products, and forget every single other product around you, the telephone, your cup and your bottles and things, for construction products, there is only one single piece of legislation, that is the CPR. Now, eco-design and all these things, and more importantly, because it's been mentioned, the digital product passports, that comes from the eco-design legislation. Yet still, the spirit of the eco-design will be brought into the CPR, but there's a time lag. Because our products, alongside the legislation, we need harmonized standards. That is also being revised, so there will be a time lag in the delivery of the digital product passports. And ask me later if you want more information, but as these standards are being revised, you will then see the digital product passports in the years to come, not in the next couple of years. Next slide, please. So again, that's what we focus on, the CPR. We are finalizing a guide to explain it to the industry and the outside world. Extremely technical text, lots of references, lots of acronyms, so we need to make sure everybody understands it. And it is not a supplement to the legislation. It's just how to explain, how to understand the text. We will speak at relevant conferences. If you are into this sort of topic, you just pointed out on the 30th of October, the European Commission, actually DG Grow, is holding a conference on the CPR. I think it's also hybrid if you want to connect online. And you can get more information from us if you need to. Little technical terms there. The ACI process is the revision of the standards that go along with the legislation. We're extremely involved in this. And well, the last presentation was all about sustainability. We've been delivering EPDs, environmental product declarations, for over a decade. This also now is changing. The nature of it is changing, but whilst we need to, we've shown that we were early actors in this story. We want to maintain that importance. And I've already mentioned the DPP, so we can skip to the next slide, please. Housing and competitiveness, I've already mentioned it. It's crucial that we drive this affordable housing plan and comes along with a strategy for housing construction. These are crucial elements. And then on the third bullet point, that last acronym EIB is the European Investment Bank. They've already had a couple of events in Brussels and they want to get involved. How do we reconcile the housing needs of citizens and the financial story of a European bank? this is something that we need to discuss. Only last week we had an event in Brussels talking with the Commission officials, and you know, it's always part of the story. Be involved, discuss, communicate, and share information. Next slide, please. Two words that I've already mentioned many times, my colleagues before me. We are now looking at the Circular Economy Act that's going to come out, that will also be linked to the single market and the waste and sustainable products. Excuse me, time of year, getting a bit of a cold. Of course, again, getting a bit technical, but the only way we will get to circular economy in construction, we need end of waste criteria for construction and demolition waste. You know, you take a brick out of a factory, it's a product, you drop it outside the gate, you have 2 pieces of waste. So we need to define the end of waste criteria so I can take those broken pieces back to the factory and put them back in the process. It's not just about you know, climate change, it's also adaptation, and there's a new plan coming out by the Commission. This is all in the announcement. And if you haven't heard of Bauhaus yet, do have a look. Lots of money to not just do sustainability, but also do beauty in the built environment. 2 slightly smaller bullet points just to let you know of all the things that have been announced and might come out in the coming months and years. And part of the story is the green NGOs, and we are talking to them because we want to make sure they understand where we're coming from, understand each other, and maybe work together. So we're meeting them in November. Next slide, please. Okay, so this was a funny one because we moved offices only a week ago, and this is one of the buildings that was close to us being refurbished. And you see that this is pure marketing, circular and CO2 neutral offices. So whatever us lobbyists or anybody else tells you, it's already marketing, you know, out there. Of course, you'll tell me this is offices, this is not housing, but you know, the industry further down is using it, so we need to be sure that we're up to scale and we can deliver. Another one, another little picture for the next slide, please. So we brought sustainability experts together last week, close to 40 people in the room, and we had 2 guests from the European Commission talking to us about end of waste criteria. And so our meeting building is the one at the bottom there, after the Swedish flag. And as I stepped out after the meetings to catch my bus home, well, as you see in the forefront, that building is being refurbished and they were sorting out waste. So again, you know, reality catching up on us EU people. So we need to keep pace with the market and the industry. Next slide, please. Of course, I talk products. You know, other people talk about housing or infrastructure, but we also need to talk about cities because everything needs to work together. And you know, it's about the built environment. It's bigger than products and it's bigger than housing. It's the whole system together. Next slide, please. Just a little quote from our vice president, and of course they're in green. The focus is sustainability, circularity, and decarbonizations. I mean, it is crucial for us as an industry, and we will want to be part of the solutions. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, I've rushed through because I was aware of time. I can be a lot more technical if you have questions for me, but the one message is if you want any information, highly technical or more generic, you'll find it all on our LinkedIn account. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Christophe. I will ask Maria Joao and Rita to join us as well. We have time for a little Q&A session, and while they both join, Christophe, I actually have a question here that just got through the chat for you, and they ask, what are the effects of EU legal frameworks related to the circular economy and the changes in CPR on construction workers' health and safety? What about other or new materials?
Okay, so the construction products regulation, whether we talk about the current one or the new one that will come next year, it's about placing products on the market. It's the only rule that you have to follow. It sets the rules that you have to follow, whether you've manufactured in Africa, in Asia or in Europe, to put the products on the market. It has nothing to do with safety or health and safety. It's about products, product characteristics, and the famous CE marking. I hope that answers the question.
I hope it does, and if it not, you can still answer. We have some time left, and we'll go now with Rita. Here we have one of our viewers that asks, what do you mean by downcycling for steel? Take into account that the majority of steel produced for concrete reinforcement is produced in Europe via the EAF recycling route, close to 100% ferrous scrap input.
I was talking more about steel structures, not I was not talking about reinforcements in the concrete structures, but steel structures like profiles, steel profiles. So they are reused a lot. So steel is reused more than the other materials, more than concrete, let's say. So it was that.
Okay. In the meantime, Rita, I will ask to turn your camera off and on again because we're having some trouble with your image. But in the meantime, I'll go to Maria Joao. We have here a question that says, in your field, of course, what is the relation between circular economy and sustainability?
Okay. I think the two concepts are deeply interconnected because the both aim to minimize the environmental impact. And also, if you think about, for instance, the SDG, you have the 12 that is related with the economy, circular economy, and also the regulatory compliance. If you think about taxonomy, if you want to align your activities related with buildings, for instance, most of the regulatory issues are related with the reuse of materials. Rita talk about it, and are related also with the reuse of materials and the circular economy. And also, I think the new way of the way of the consumers look into the market also let the business to look of the reuse of the products and to think business in the resilience, thinking on the long time perspective, and I think they are very interconnected. It's
Christophe,
I think
go ahead. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Christophe, you wanted to say something?
Yes, just a word about reuse and demolition waste. Just to put it in some form, if we were to reuse all bad timing. If we were to sort out and reuse all construction and demolition waste today and put it on the market, we would probably cover only a third of the demand to deliver the housing that is required. So that is one thing. Now, reusing, tomorrow I sell a fully circular product, it's installed in the building, it's going to be there for 30, 40, 50, 100 years. It is not your iPhone or your soda can. It's going to be locked into that system for a long time. So reusing is fine in a concept, but for practicalities and the need for housing, we need to have a whole life cycle approach to this system and make sure that the demand in housing matches the delivery in products, whatever the nature. We need to be product neutral, technology neutral, and have a whole life cycle approach to the building, because otherwise that circularity will fail. Thank you.
Thank you for your input, Christophe. I think we have time for a couple of more questions. Rita, I see that you're back. We just received this one that says, while it seems that the discussion often focuses on building specifically, I'm curious about how the principles of circularity apply within the context of landscape construction. Could you elaborate on the considerations or strategies that can be implemented in landscape architecture, such as green infrastructure projects, etc., to promote circularity?
Yeah, so talking about infrastructures, I agree that we don't have only buildings, and most of the construction activity is in infrastructures. So, and we can have also the same attitude. So we have to build in a more modular way, in a more using prefabricated components that can be reused in other, for instance, in a bridge. We can build the middle span, and then if we change that bridge, we can reuse the middle span of a bridge in another bridge. And we have to do the same as we do in buildings. And actually is more easy because infrastructures are bigger, but they are not so complex because buildings has various different components, and infrastructures has less components. So it's more easy to be circular in infrastructures because we have less components, and also we have more expert owners. The owners of infrastructures normally they know about what they have, the assets that they have, and they know how to keep them, and how normally and know how to keep them and to rehabilitate them and to maintain the assets, and also to reuse components from infrastructure. So in my opinion, the question is really good because infrastructures is a main issue because the consumption of materials in infrastructures is enormous, and we can have the same attitude, a circular attitude in infrastructures. Yeah.
Thank you, Rita, very much. We have time for one more question, and Christophe, since you cut a little bit short your presentation, I'm going to give the floor to you. This one says, there are numerous EU construction and building concepts like sustainable, circular, net zero, and now affordable. How can we bring all of this to the market and to the people?
Thank you, Jordi. Just to come back to Rita, there's one element that's always missing in the circularity reuse debate. It's one of liability. Yeah. So I sell a product to you, I give you a set of characteristics, I'm liable for their performance. Okay. Now, if 50, 40, 100 years down the road, somebody takes that out and puts it somewhere else, who's liable for that? And it's been a discussion amongst lawyers for many years, and one that we also need to sort out. Now, of course, Rita was talking about the lovely old door. Unless there's some fire requirements and needs to be a fireproof, the door will not cause any issues. But if it's a structural beam that's taken out and put somewhere else, then we need to be sure, buildings in Europe don't collapse, and we want to make sure that that stays as it is. So reusing, we need liability and characteristics. So, but indeed, coming back to your question about sustainability, circularity, Maria has already addressed those two. Net zero for me is a characteristics of sustainability as was described in the reporting. So I've mentioned briefly in my presentation the environmental product declarations that are made up of a number of indicators based on a European standard. So it's part of a bigger story. So we need for the whole thing to come together and to deliver the information in a structured, standardized way to the market. Indeed, Rita mentioned the digital product passports. We need that in there. We need the transfer of information from one ecosystem player to the next. And if I was a dreamer, I would say go from the product passport to the digital building logbooks, so the information is transferred and shared and can be used, even in Rita's scenario of reusing the products. You go in, you know how many of which products you have, where they're in, and So the concepts are there. Affordability is the new one, of course, the most crucial one for the citizens, and that is one where we need to assess probably market per market. Locally in Portugal and Spain, what are the costs for construction? Where are the bottlenecks? And then, are they the same across Southern Europe or Northern Europe? And try and find ways forward to resolve the cost issues with construction. Is it one of leasing? You lease the land, you dismantle later, but we need to bring all these concepts together outside the EU sphere, as I showed some pictures, because the market is moving and we need to move alongside with the market with real solutions.
Super. Thank you very much, Christophe. Thank you to the three of you. Actually, we're running out of time, so thanks to the three of you, and thank you, the audience, for attending today's webinar. As a reminder, you will be able to find the recording of today's webinar on BuildUp's portal and YouTube channel in the coming days. And as of BuildUp, we will be back with more webinars in the coming weeks. Actually, next week, we have another one, so keep an eye on the BuildUp calendar of events and our social media channels for updates on these. And be sure to register on the BuildUp website to be able to share and disseminate your own content and follow us on social media for more updates. We wish you a very pleasant end of the day. Once again, thank to the three of you. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.